Hubby, can you grab me some food? Hubby, could you write this report for me? My roommate went from being completely bewildered at first, to tacitly accepting it, to being utterly devoted to me. Until one day, needing a favor, I turned around and called someone else Hubby. My usually simple and honest roommate's face immediately darkened. With one hand gripping my chin and the other spanking my behind, he said, "Hubby is right here. Try calling someone else that again and see what happens." Chapter 1. When I finally woke up naturally, the dorm room was completely silent. I rolled over and, out of habit, found a contact in my phone I'd saved as my gopher. I sent a quick voice note. "Hubby, can you bring me some oatmeal and breakfast rolls from the cafeteria?" A moment later, he replied, "Julian, could you not call me that in a voice note? Just typing it is fine." I let out a sleepy yawn and casually typed back, "Of course, sweet hubby, whatever you say. Oh, by the way, could you also grab my 3 packages from the mailroom on your way back, hubby?" He was silent for a long time before finally sending back a reluctant "okay." I put my phone down and scoffed. I had to admit, I could perfectly picture Caleb Morgan clutching his phone right now, his face beet red with embarrassment. I felt a rare pang of guilt, but only a tiny one. Who told Caleb to be such a pushover? Anyone else with his great physique and handsome face, even if they weren't well off, would be playing the field like crazy by now. But Caleb was quiet and reserved, always on time for class, and then off to his part-time job to earn money. He never seemed to get it when people flirted with him or made suggestive jokes. It was like his mind was a fortress, completely sealed off. He was the perfect picture of a simple, honest oaf, and a lazy bum like me. How could I possibly pass up such an excellent gopher? So I deliberately pretended to be gay behind his back, calling him hubby, flirting with him, seducing him, all to make him my personal errand boy. From small things like buying me meals and picking up packages, to bigger tasks like helping me with my major coursework, and even washing my socks. Caleb had gone from initial shock and confusion, to blushing denials, and now to silent obedience. It was clear I had successfully turned him gay. I crossed my legs smugly. He had a good temper anyway. Even if he eventually found out I was just playing with his feelings, he'd probably just suffer in silence. Life, isn't it just a piece of cake? Chapter 2. By the time I'd leisurely finished washing up, Caleb was already back in the room. He had pulled up a stool and was sitting at my desk, head down, carefully wiping down a set of plastic silverware for me. His profile was sharp and handsome. The faint outline of his well-defined muscles was visible through his faded T-shirt. Tusk, anyone who didn't know better would think some male celebrity was here for a photo shoot. But the next second he turned to look at me, and his expression immediately became a bit awkward. "Julian, I put your packages over there, and I got your breakfast. You should eat it while it's hot." "Okay, hubby." I walked over with a grin and sat down beside him, deliberately pressing myself against him. I could clearly feel his muscles tense up instantly. After sending him the money for the food, I picked up a breakfast roll and held it to his lips. "You worked hard, hubby. Let me feed you one first." His eyes flickered and his Adam's apple bobbed. "I've already eaten. Just have one more." "Oh, okay." Caleb obediently opened his mouth and took a bite of the roll, sneaking glances at me as he chewed. I pretended not to notice and kept up the teasing. "Is it good, hubby?" "It's good. Want another one?" "No, you eat. You must be hungry too." "Alrighty." Having done my part, I didn't waste any more words and dug into my meal with relish, ignoring my gopher. Caleb sat quietly beside me, watching me eat. He was so well behaved. Suddenly he called out to me in a low voice, "Julian, are you busy on Saturday?" "Maybe. Why?" I tilted my head to glance at him and saw the big oaf hesitating, wanting to say something. "What is it, hubby?" He finally spoke. "I have a basketball game on Saturday. I was hoping you could come watch." "Oh, you want me to bring you water, right?" Would you?" I swallowed a bite of my roll and rejected him lazily. "Nope, it's too hot outside." Caleb pressed his lips together in disappointment. "Okay." He didn't say anything else, just sat there quietly watching me eat. His eyes were dark, exactly like a big dog that's just been scolded by its owner. He didn't dare make a sound, just sat there silently. For a moment, the only sound in the room was me eating, but I started to feel a little annoyed. Seriously, why didn't the silly mutt just ask one more time? If he'd asked again, I might have reluctantly agreed to go. But I waited and waited, and he never asked. After another spoonful of oatmeal, I set my bowl down with a thud and turned to him with a fake smile. "You know, I thought about it, and I think I'll go on Saturday after all. I've never seen my hubby play ball before." I bet you'll look so handsome. Caleb's eyes lit up instantly. His previously droopy dog ears perked right up. Chapter 3. On Saturday, the sun was hot enough to melt a person. Cursing under my breath, I stepped out into the heat, mentally damning Caleb to hell. When I arrived at the basketball court, drenched in sweat, I found there were quite a few other fools there. Even in this weather, they were all crowded around, watching intently. I heard a lot of the girls frequently mentioning the name Caleb. I stood in the shade, watching that tall figure running on the court, and pursed my lips. That silly mutt might look poor and honest, but his luck with the ladies was surprisingly strong. Good thing I got my hooks into him first. Otherwise, he'd be running errands for someone else by now. Perhaps my calculating gaze was too obvious, because the guy who had just sunk a three-pointer whipped his head around to look at me. A handsome smile immediately spread across his face. I grinned back. While giving him a thumbs up, I shamelessly mouthed the words, "Go, hubby, go." The tips of Caleb's ears turned even redder. It was hard to tell if it was from the exertion, the heat, or from blushing. Whatever the reason, he played even more fiercely after that, completely stealing the show. I let out a silent whistle. All right, this wasn't a total waste. Braving the sun to watch him show off was worth it. He really was handsome, a pleasure to watch. As a reward, I'll let him finish my report tonight. The game ended quickly. A crowd of girls swarmed the court to give water to their favorite players. I grabbed the bottle I'd bought and prepared to head in to find a certain silly mutt. Just then, a pretty girl beat me to it, approaching Caleb with a shy expression. She handed him a bottle of water. Caleb seemed to have frozen, not reacting at all. I stopped in my tracks. A feeling of irritation bubbled up inside me. "Caleb, I'm hungry," I called out. Caleb's head immediately snapped towards me. Ignoring the pretty girl in front of him, he walked straight over. He stared at me intently. "Okay, I'll take you to get something to eat. Oh, here's your water. My arms are killing me from holding it. Then, should I rub them for you?" He looked at my hands with concern, wanting to touch them but not daring to. I shoved the bottle into his chest. "You could have just taken it from me, you idiot." He chuckled sheepishly, his intense gaze never leaving my face. The irritation inside me subsided. I deliberately lowered my voice to entice him. "Go on, hubby, drink up." "Okay." As he obediently drank the water, I lifted my eyelids with satisfaction. My gaze passed over his shoulder, landing scornfully on the girl whose attempt to flirt had failed. Ha. Caleb is my dog now. He only does what I tell him to do. Chapter 4. After Caleb and I ate at the cafeteria, we started walking back to the dorm along a shady path. We chatted idly. Mostly it was me teasing Caleb, calling him hubby with every other word, while he blushed and stared at the ground as he walked. He was hopelessly naive. "Hubby, why are you walking so fast? I'm afraid you'll get hot. Let's hurry back. If you knew it was hot, why did you make me bring you water?" "Look, my face is all red from the sun." "Sorry, I can block it for you." As he spoke, he raised his hand to shield me from the sun. Of course, I wasn't going to refuse help from my gopher. I naturally stepped into the shadow he created for me. "Thanks, hubby, moi," I flirted shamelessly. Caleb's eyes instinctively darted to my lips before looking away again. His Adam's apple bobbed. He held his hand up to block the sun even more earnestly. Just as we were about to reach the men's dorm, a couple kissing came into view. It was a common sight, so I glanced over and was about to walk past. But Caleb next to me stopped in his tracks. He looked at the couple, then looked again. I turned back, confused. "Caleb, what's wrong?" Caleb pointed at the couple, looking a bit dazed. "That man and woman, they're kissing." "So what? They're a couple. I hear you see even more of that in front of the women's dorms." "Is that so?" As Caleb spoke, his gaze fell on my lips, which were a little dry from the sun. "Julian, does that mean we can kiss too?" "Huh." I was completely floored. Damn it, the silly mutt was actually getting ideas. I rejected him outright. "Kiss what? What kind of relationship do we have?" He looked confused. "Aren't we a couple? You call me hubby." I was at a loss for words. Panicked and feeling guilty, I argued stubbornly. "Does calling you hubby mean we have to kiss? Have you ever heard of platonic love?" "No." "If you don't know, then what are you talking about kissing for? Let's just get back to the dorm. It's boiling out here." I turned and walked away, my face burning, but Caleb didn't follow. I looked back and saw him standing there with a dejected expression, looking for all the world like a kicked puppy. It was pathetic. Damn it. I ground my back teeth in frustration. This silly mutt was getting harder to fool. He was learning to push his luck, even demanding to get frisky. Should I just drop the gay act? Or should I swallow my pride and keep flirting with him for a few more days, let him keep running my errands? I was reluctant to give up such an obedient mutt, but I couldn't just waste my first kiss on this gopher, could I? My interests and my innocence battled it out. After a moment of internal war, I suddenly strode back to him and stomped hard on his foot. Fine, kiss me. I'll allow it. As Caleb's dark eyes suddenly intensified, I blushed and threatened through gritted teeth, but no tongue got it. Chapter 5. By the time Caleb pulled me out from behind some trees, the other couple was long gone. My face was a dark shade of red, and my ears were burning. I was panting with rage. Unable to hold back, I swung around and punched the shoulder of the person following me. Then I squeezed out a sentence menacingly through my teeth. I told you no tongue, you did that on purpose, didn't you? Caleb's face was also a little red. He stood before me with his head lowered obediently, looking innocent and simple. Julian, I just couldn't help myself for a moment. I won't bite you so hard next time. There's a next time. My eyes went wide with shock. For a second, I couldn't hide the urge to kill him. There was no shortage of people to run errands. Without him, I could just find a more obedient gopher. But my innocence was gone. How was I supposed to face the world now? I might as well just find a wall and bang my head against it. Fine, that's it. I'm ending this right here. I'm done playing this game with him. Having made up my mind, I opened my mouth fiercely. Caleb, I think but before I could get the words out, Caleb interrupted me. He looked down at me with pleading eyes. When we get back to the dorm, I'll finish that major coursework for you right away. I'll also do your final presentation for the elective, and after I write the proposal for the innovation competition, I'll put your name on it so you can get extra credits. It'll look great on your resume too. Julian, I was wrong. Please don't be mad, okay? The anger I had just mustered was instantly smothered by this barrage of powerful, sugar-coated bullets. All my rage got stuck in my throat. Damn it, now I couldn't dump him, even if I wanted to. After all, no one else would go to these lengths for me. If I found someone new, I'd have to build up the relationship from scratch. It was too much effort, and there wasn't a more suitable candidate right now. Without him, this lazy bum would actually be at a loss. After weighing the pros and cons again, I swallowed all my curses and put on a sweet, seductive smile. Hubby, why would I be mad at you? I was just a little shy. I thought you were a bit rough just now. Can you be gentler next time? I like gentle kisses. Caleb's ears turned even redder. He raised a hand, his eyes fixed on my now slightly swollen and glistening lips. I'm sorry. I'll be more careful in the future. By the way, what were you about to say? Caleb asked, as if just remembering his expression earnest. I shook my head, feigning innocence. Nothing. I was just saying we should probably head back to the dorm. I'm sleepy, hubby. Okay. Caleb took my hand and we walked back towards the men's dorm, sticking to the shade. His profile was handsome, his expression honest and gentle. Walking half a step behind, I suppressed my anger and wiped the smile off my face. When Caleb wasn't looking, I secretly wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. This was weird. Why did I suddenly have the strange feeling that I'd been completely outplayed and the tables had turned on me? Chapter 6. That night, Caleb really did start working on my assignment. After taking a shower, I lay in bed, sweet-talked him a bit to keep him focused, and then drifted off for a nap. I was eventually woken up by our roommate, Mike Donovan, coming back. I pushed open my bed curtain, my eyes still heavy with sleep. Mike, weren't you meeting your online girlfriend in person? How come you're back so early? Mike saw that he'd woken me and quickly apologized, then sighed dramatically. You guys won't believe it. My online girlfriend is a guy. What? This bombshell piece of gossip was so shocking that even Caleb, who had his back to us, turned to look. Mike wailed, I thought she was a sweet, cute girl, but then he pulled it out, and it was bigger than mine. I was so scared I just bolted. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So you're homophobic, Mike lamented. It's not that I'm homophobic, bro. I just can't handle a guy who's rougher than me. Now if he was a fair-skinned, handsome guy like you, maybe I could have dealt with it. As he said this, he playfully reached out and touched my face. I slapped his hand away and told him to get lost. Mike chuckled, his mood seeming to lift a bit. He walked over to his closet to change clothes. I yawned, about to retreat behind my curtain and go back to sleep. Just then, Caleb, who had been silently working away, suddenly stood up and came to stand beside my bed. A pair of dark, intense eyes stared calmly at me. Thanks to my loft bed, my eyeline was slightly above his for once. Glancing at Mike, who was still changing and hadn't noticed, I grinned and poked Caleb's head, whispering seductively, What's up, hubby? Julian leaned down a little, okay? Confused, I leaned down further, thinking he wanted to whisper something to me. But the next second, Caleb reached up, pressed a hand to the back of my neck, and quickly, silently, pulled my face down to kiss me. I completely froze. Has he lost his mind? Chapter 7. Julian, do you think I should go beat that guy up? I won't feel better until I teach him a lesson. Mike asked for my opinion as he bent down to take off his shoes, not even turning around. In a panic, I tried to pull my head back from Caleb's kiss, but he held me tighter, more forcefully. He bit down hard on my lower lip. It hurt. I couldn't help but let out a muffled whimper. MMMPH. Mike, however, thought I was saying MMMsm and immediately responded, "You think I should go too? But I'm worried the two of us pushovers couldn't take him. Hey, Caleb, why don't you come with me? You're tall and built, just standing there you've got that tough guy vibe." Caleb, Mike picked up his shoes, ready to put them under his desk, still not looking back. Caleb, whose name had been called, mumbled a reply against my lips, his voice thick and low. "Sure. Great with you guys, I've got nothing to worry about. Once Frank gets back, we'll all go together. I'll be damned if we don't beat the crap out of that liar." Mike started taking off his pants. Amidst the rustling of his clothes and his nonstop grumbling, Caleb's hand moved to my face. Coincidentally, it was the exact spot Mike had playfully touched moments before. He rubbed it back and forth a few times. Then his hand moved down. He gripped my chin and kissed me even more fiercely. I struggled to maintain my sanity, pinching Caleb's ear hard and warning him in a breathy whisper to cut it out. "Caleb, Mike is right here, are you crazy?" But Caleb didn't seem to feel any pain. He kissed me and whispered back, "I'm just tired from doing your homework. I wanted to kiss you for some inspiration." What an excuse. For a moment, I couldn't even bring myself to slap him and tell him to get lost. I'll endure it. For the sake of that damn coursework, I'll endure it. My first kiss is gone anyway. Losing it a second time won't be that much more heartbreaking. So I swallowed my frustration and put on a pitiful act. "Do you have your inspiration now?" "Not yet. Can I have one more kiss?" Could I say no? I had to swallow my pride and say yes, damn it so. With tears in my eyes, I nodded and willingly lowered my head to make it easier for this silly mutt. Hurry up and get it over with. By the time Mike had finally finished changing and turned around, Caleb was sitting back in his own chair, ready to continue my homework. His expression was calm and honest. I, on the other hand, was slumped over the edge of my bed, breathing heavily, my face flushed. I couldn't tell if the sweat on my back was from nerves or from sheer humiliation. Mike asked with concern, "Julian, what's wrong with you?" I covered my face, my voice barely a whisper. "Nothing, just a little tired. I am going to sleep." "Good night." With that, I quickly ducked back behind my bed curtain. Then I silently punched the air and screamed into the void. He's crazy. Caleb has definitely gone crazy. The honest, easily teased mutt I once knew was gone. Now he not only initiates things, but he also launches surprise attacks. But as I fumed, a sliver of doubt crept in, that weird feeling from before resurfaced. I secretly peeked through a crack in the curtain, frowning as I observed the guy doing my homework. Why do I get the feeling that Caleb isn't as harmless and gentle as he appears on the surface? Chapter 8. For the next while, though, Caleb acted perfectly normal. He was the same simple, obedient guy as always, still blushing whenever I called him hubby. Besides continuing to be my gopher, he became a bit clingy, and a little creepy. He would just silently stare at me. And that look told me he desperately wanted to kiss me. I'd grit my teeth and tell him to keep his distance, but he'd still take any chance when no one was looking to steal a kiss. After a while, I just went numb to it. My dignity felt like it was shattering into a million pieces. The kind that not even superglue could fix. I endured it. As long as I could keep my pants on, it was fine. Fortunately, the homework and reports Caleb wrote for me were all going smoothly. I handed them in and got high scores. By getting my name on the innovation competition project, I also nabbed some extra credits and a top prize. The honors scholarship for next semester was practically in the bag. After getting a load of praise from my academic advisor, I walked back to the dorm, beaming with success. Not bad. I'd sacrificed my lips' innocence in exchange for a bright future. Caleb's contribution was undeniable. And I was the far-sighted, master strategist behind it all. Just a little unethical. Figuring this silly mutt had served his purpose, I decided to perform one last act of charity. I'd treat him to a meal, then make up an excuse to dump him, and then find a new gopher. But as soon as the thought crossed my mind, a strange reluctance washed over me. I quickly shook my head, pushing the feeling away. I'm a straight guy. I just need to treat him to dinner and get this over with. I figured Caleb would be at his part-time job at the restaurant off campus, so I decided to deign to go find him myself. Just as I got to the restaurant, a commotion erupted inside. I looked closer. A guy, clearly drunk, was harassing a female customer at a nearby table. He was insisting on getting her number on some messaging app, demanding she have a drink with him. When she politely refused, he started swearing, his hands getting grabby. On top of that, the idiot was built like a tank, so no one dared to intervene. My face darkened, and I was about to step in. Just then, a familiar figure moved past me, walking over and slamming the pig-headed man face down on the table with one hand. His profile was fierce, his movements swift. There was a loud thud. It didn't look like he used much force, but the man was pressed down so hard he was yelping for mercy. He turned and signaled for a coworker to call the police. The chaos quickly subsided, and I stood among the crowd of onlookers, staring blankly at the handsome waiter with the cold expression, who was now being shyly thanked over and over by the female customer. Was this still my silly mutt of a roommate Caleb? He looked more like an untamable wild dog. Chapter 9. My expression must have been one of utter shock. The guy, who had been speaking with a detached look on his face, suddenly turned and looked in my direction. He froze for a second, his pupils constricting. Before I could react, he was back to his usual self, running over to me and standing there obediently. He was like a big dog that had just spotted its owner, practically panting and wagging its tail with excitement. "Julian, what are you doing here? Did that commotion just now scare you?" "Don't worry, we get drunk customers causing trouble here all the time. Our boss is a woman, so she can't really handle them. She just pays me an extra $50 a day to act tough and scare these guys off. See, the boss already sent the $50. I'll buy you a milkshake later, okay?" I looked at Caleb, who seemed flustered and honest, still a little shaken from the incident, and my suspicions slowly faded. That made sense. Caleb was poor, he needed the money. For $50, he would definitely put on a brave face. No matter how much I treated him like a gopher, I never shorted him on the money I owed him. And now, after his heroic act, he was going to use the $50 he earned to buy me a milkshake. He really was a silly mutt. The breakup speech I'd prepared got pushed down, replaced by a complex, muddled feeling. But on the surface, I smiled and reached up to smooth his slightly messy hair, whispering praise. "Hubby, you were so hot hitting that guy just now. I loved it, as long as you liked it. When do you get off work?" Caleb stared at me, answering obediently, "In an hour. Can you hurry up? Are you hungry?" he asked a little anxiously. I shook my head. My hand moved down, my fingertips brushing his lips as I whispered seductively, "I just want to kiss you. Can I? Consider it a reward for doing a good deed, and for the milkshake he was going to buy me. And then I'll break up with him a little later." Chapter 10. After that, Caleb's work efficiency went through the roof. He was like he'd taken a shot of adrenaline. I found the smell of grease in the restaurant unpleasant, so I stood outside, waiting for him lazily. I'd only been waiting a short while when Caleb appeared before me, panting slightly. He looked excited, yet a little clumsy and unsure of what to do with his hands. He'd already changed out of his work uniform and back into his faded t-shirt. I was surprised that was fast. He stared at me intently. "The boss let me go early as a reward." "Oh, good for her. Come on, I'll treat you to dinner." I turned to leave, but Caleb stopped me, saying sheepishly, "Julian, didn't you say you wanted to kiss me first?" My mouth twitched. "Look around, do you see how many people there are? If I kiss you today, we'll be on the local news tomorrow. So, it's okay if there are fewer people. Well, of course, hubby." Caleb didn't insist further and obediently followed me. But on the way to dinner, he kept glancing over at me. His hand would lift, then drop, lift again, then drop again. He only dared to brush his fingers against mine, but this series of movements was driving me crazy. The next time he reached for my hand, I grabbed his and held on. Then I cleared my throat. "If you want to hold my hand, just hold it. It's dark here, no one will see." "Okay." Caleb immediately enveloped my hand in his. His palm was scorching hot. So hot that my face started to burn. He gently squeezed my fingers, a playful, almost possessive gesture. I didn't need to look at him to know he was staring at me with that intense gaze, probably wagging his tail so hard it was about to break off. Tusk, pathetic. Chapter 11. I felt like my relationship with Caleb was becoming too hot to handle. It was making me constantly distracted. Sometimes I really felt like I was letting him get away with too much. I was supposed to be the one in control, but now I increasingly felt like I was the one being played. At the same time, I was starting to realize something important. I initially thought I'd be decisive when it came time to ditch Caleb, but now I was hesitating. I didn't want to hurt him. I was afraid of how sad he'd be when he found out the truth. This damn hesitation was not part of my plan. If I let this continue, I might actually end up gay, and then I'd be totally screwed. So while I was still stringing Caleb along, I started discreetly scouting for my next gopher. There was the athletics rep from the class next door. His personality was like Caleb's, but his grades were atrocious. How was he supposed to write my reports? A friend from my club was smart and had an honest personality, but he was a bit unfortunate looking. I'm picky about looks, I couldn't handle it. The guy in the dorm downstairs was pretty good all around, but for some reason he just didn't have Caleb's vibe, that pathetic yet alluring vibe. Damn it, I kicked the last candidate off my list in frustration. I'd been observing for days and none of them were suitable. It was all Caleb's fault for setting the bar so damn high. So annoying. I sighed and rolled out of bed. Mike, who was just coming back to the room, saw me and asked, "How come you're not with Caleb? He has an elective." "Why would I go with him?" "All right, well, wanna play some games? We can rank up together." "Sure." I nodded lazily, hoping a game would lift my spirits. Maybe he could tell I was in a bad mood because Mike kept trying to make me laugh. "I'm not carrying you for free, bro. You gotta call me something nice as payment." I glanced at him. "What do you want to hear? Big bro, dad, sir, daddy?" Mike shook his head. "Too cliché." "Oh, you want something original? Fine." I put on a fake, high-pitched voice to mess with him. "Hubby, will you carry me to Victoria?" Mike immediately recoiled in disgust, saying he couldn't take it. He complained that I was even worse than his catfish. That made me laugh, and I kept calling him Hubby to gross him out. "Hubby, can I play the support hero?" "Hubby, don't run away." "Hubby, say something." "Hubby," you right as I was having the time of my life, the dorm room door slammed open with a deafening bang. I jumped, looking back in confusion. There stood Caleb, his handsome face terrifyingly dark. Chapter 12. Mike greeted Caleb and then went back to carrying me in our game. I kept my head down, trying to act calm, but in reality I was so nervous I couldn't say a word. I could feel someone's piercing death stare on my back, and the pressure was intense. My gut told me Caleb was furious, and rightly so. Finding out your boyfriend is calling someone else hubby would make even the most honest person feel like they were being cheated on. I clutched my phone, the frustration returning. After 2 more games, I couldn't stand the torture anymore. I told Mike to put on his headphones and play for a bit, then got up and went to the bathroom to wash my face and hide for a moment. I decided to take the opportunity to come clean with Caleb. If he wanted compensation, I'd pay him generously. I wasn't short on money. If he wanted to hit me, I'd run, then compensate him handsomely later. Whatever happened, I couldn't drag this out any longer. Just as I finished washing my face and was composing my speech, I heard the click of the bathroom door locking. As I turned around in confusion, I saw that Caleb had somehow appeared behind me. He braced his hands on either side of the sink, trapping me. His face was so cold it made me shiver. My planned breakup speech turned into an instinctive explanation. "Caleb, don't get the wrong idea. I was just joking around with Mike. It's normal for guys to mess around like that." "Is that so?" He seemed to believe me, as he removed one of the arms boxing me in. I breathed a sigh of relief. This silly mutt Caleb was as easy to fool as ever, but the next second someone smacked my butt. Hard. The smack echoed loudly in the small bathroom. First I was stunned by the pain, then I looked at Caleb in disbelief, my face burning with humiliation. "You hit me, you hit my ass." Smack. Another one, harder this time. The pain brought a surge of anger, and I started to struggle and push him away. "Caleb, how dare you hit my ass?" His face wore an unfamiliar, fierce expression as he delivered another powerful slap. "What are you supposed to call me?" I blew up. "Caleb, don't push your luck, you dog." He grabbed my chin, forcing me to look at him. "Julian, what are you supposed to call me?" "Hubby is right here. Try calling someone else that again and see what happens." Then another sharp pain on my butt. I was completely dazed, looking at the guy who seemed fully prepared to beat my ass raw. Even a fool like me would have finally gotten it. Caleb wasn't some simple, harmless big dog. He was a real wild dog. A kid from a poor family who had to work and struggle from a young age wasn't going to be some naive simpleton. All the jerks and problems he'd dealt with at his part-time jobs, how could he possibly be so simple-minded as to not have a single calculating thought? And how could he possibly not have seen through my clumsy manipulations? Chapter 13. I struggled to compose myself. I was done playing this game. If I kept this up, I was going to get myself killed. Caleb, you've probably figured it out by now. I wasn't serious about dating you. I was just being lazy and wanted someone to do things for me. I'm sorry. I was wrong. It's my fault. I sincerely apologize. As I spoke, I cautiously watched his expression. The dark, fierce look on Caleb's face softened a little. He stood up straight, no longer hitting my butt, but his sudden change in demeanor still had me on edge. I immediately covered my behind and took 2 steps back, wary and guilt-ridden. So really, I'm sorry. If you're not satisfied, I can give you some money as compensation. How much do you want? I won't haggle, but don't ask for too much. After all, you deceived me too, right? He was a cool, smart guy pretending to be a silly mutt, making me think he was easy to win over. So naturally, he had to bear some of the responsibility. Caleb looked at me and let out a cold laugh. I'm quiet, not stupid. You're the one who thought I was an easy target. And I don't want money. Then what do you want? For us to keep dating? My face instantly crumpled. Bro, I'm straight, but I'm not anymore. Now the thought of being with a girl disgusts me. I can't go back. So what do we do? Caleb gave a merciless smile, then laid down the final verdict. There's nothing to do. Julian, either way, you have to take responsibility. With that, Caleb turned and left the bathroom, leaving me feeling utterly hopeless. It's over. I've completely screwed this up. I rubbed my still aching butt and hung my head with a sigh. It was all my fault. This lazy bum tried to take a shortcut, and now I've created a complete and utter mess. Chapter 14. And just like that, I was forced into a relationship with Caleb. I felt resigned, but also a little relieved. Resigned because I was afraid he'd tell everyone what happened. If my dad found out I'd been so horrible, he'd cut off my credit cards for sure, and then I'd be in real trouble. The reason I was relieved was Caleb was still my dog. It's just that before, Caleb was the obedient one following me around, doing whatever I said. Now, I was the one following him around all day. He'd still indulge my little tantrums, but one look from him, and I'd have to obediently offer my hand. For him to play with, for him to hold. One glance at my lips, and I'd have to quietly follow him somewhere secluded to be kissed until my legs went weak. He was still the same quiet, poor-looking guy, wearing his faded t-shirts and cheap shoes. But his aura had completely changed. It was dominant and steady. No wonder a bunch of people at school were crazy about him. I could cry. I was seriously tearing up. How could I have been so blind before, thinking he was an easy target? Wild dog wasn't enough to describe him anymore. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, there was nothing I could do. I had no idea how to solve this awkward situation, so I just decided to go with the flow for now. Besides, Caleb still did everything I needed him to, and he did it even more meticulously than before. He just got a lot more handsy. At first, I was a little awkward about it, but after being kissed so many times, I rubbed my still red lips, a little dazed. It was actually pretty nice. I wondered if other people would feel this way if he kissed them like this in the future. That ridiculous thought made me anxious. Tired of thinking about it, I left to go find Caleb, who was in his elective class. I got to the academic building just as class was letting out. As I rounded a corner, I saw a guy standing in front of Caleb. Unsurprisingly, it was a confession. Caleb, I can tell you like guys. I didn't dare say anything before because I was afraid you were homophobic, but I want to tell you now that I've liked you for a long time. Could you please consider me? Caleb looked at him calmly. Thank you, but I already have someone I like. Is it your roommate, Julian? He's straight. There's no future for people like us with straight guys, the guy urged gently. Yeah, I know, but I'm going to keep trying. It doesn't matter if he doesn't like me back. It's enough that I like him. Caleb's reply was cool and detached. When I heard that, I turned and scrambled away from the stairwell in a panic. Chapter 15. By the time Caleb finished his conversation and came out, I was squatting under a tree and had already gotten 2 mosquito bites. I held my arm out and complained to him. It's all your fault for being so slow. Look what they did to me. Caleb took a small bottle of medicated oil out of his bag and started dabbing it on my bites, his eyes lowered. Why didn't you come up and wait for me? I didn't want to interrupt your conversation. Wasn't that guy confessing to you? The guy looked up at me and said seriously, I didn't accept. I know, but why didn't you? He's pretty handsome and he seems nice. I couldn't resist scratching the 2 bites. Caleb frowned. Julian, you're the one I like. I know, I'm the one who turned you after all. Caleb looked at me but didn't reply. After scratching the bites, I was quiet for a moment. Then I stepped on his cheap shoes and looked up to meet his gaze seriously. Do you want to try dating for real? Caleb froze for a second. I gently kicked the toe of his shoe again. I'm serious. Not out of responsibility, not because you're my gopher. I just want to try it. If it doesn't work out, we break up and stay friends. Caleb, you in? Why? The guy asked, staring at me intently. I smiled. No reason. I just feel like it. Truthfully, when I heard Caleb so openly admit his feelings for me to someone else, I'd panicked. While I was hiding out and feeding the mosquitoes, I did a lot of thinking. Am I straight? Yes. After all, if you asked me to imagine being in a relationship with a man, I'd probably want to throw up. But if it was Caleb, it didn't seem so bad. I'd always had a strange soft spot for him. When he pretended to be a dog and deceived me, I was only angry for a moment before I started secretly thinking he was insanely hot. When he kissed me, I wasn't repulsed. In fact, it felt good. My heart would race. I even started feeling possessive of him at some point. I only wanted him to be my dog, my person. So why not give it a try? It was my own darn fault for being so captivated that, out of all the guys I knew, I picked him to be my gopher in the first place. My direct confession made Caleb's expression instantly relax. Really, for real, if I'm lying this time, I'm a dog. Okay, Caleb took my hand, his grip tight, and so we started dating for real. On the surface, he went back to being my doting dog at my beck and call, but in private, he was dominant and gentle. I was loving it. Whenever we had the dorm to ourselves, we'd watch movies together and kiss. If our roommates had ever come back a little later, we definitely would have gotten into some trouble. I always thought we'd just keep going on happily like this. Until one day, Caleb was in the shower, and I was playing a game on his phone, which was so laggy it was practically a brick. Thinking about the new phone I'd bought for him that was on its way, I resisted the urge to just toss his current one in the trash. Suddenly, I accidentally opened his notes app, and then I froze. It was a secret diary, one he'd been keeping since freshman year, documenting his crush. The main character was him, and the object of his affection was me. I read through it in shock, then let out a few cold laughs. Right. Oh, this was good. I always thought I was the one who turned him, but it turned out this big jerk Caleb had been planning this all along. He was a total wolf in sheep's clothing. I furiously typed a new line at the bottom of his last entry. As punishment, you're not allowed to kiss me for 3 days. You dog. End of main story epilogue. Caleb's notes February haven't seen Julian all winter break. Why is he so thin? Don't his parents have maids to take care of him? I want to feed him. I want to take care of him openly. It's so frustrating. Why isn't he gay? Why am I not rich enough to support him? March, oh no, did he find out I like him? Why else would he keep looking at me with that weird expression? Early April, I accidentally saw Julian's search history. How to turn a simple-minded straight roommate into your devoted dog in 1 sentence. University forum is Caleb Morgan straight, simple-minded, devoted dog. So Julian wants to pursue me, to make me do things for him. Heh, fine, but once he has me, he's not getting away, because he's the one who started this. Late April, Julian has started his pursuit. He keeps calling me hubby. It's getting me a little hot under the collar. Oh, and elsewhere too. End of April, I'm acting simple and gentle, encouraging him to be bolder with his flirting. He's falling for it. Cute. May, according to Julian's plan, I've been successfully turned, and we're now dating. I'm deliberately playing dumb, acting simple. I'm willingly washing his socks, buying his meals, doing his homework. If he likes me being obedient, then I'll be obedient until he's completely trapped. Early June, Julian probably hasn't even realized it himself, but he's starting to let me get away with a lot. He's even becoming dependent on me, and there are faint signs of possessiveness. This is a good sign. Worth a celebratory kiss. Mid-June, he almost found out the real me. Luckily, I managed to talk my way out of it, but my submissiveness seems to be having the opposite effect. Julian seems a little distracted. Late June, Julian dared to call someone else hubby. Unacceptable. I'm going to lock him down by my side, and then kiss him to death.